Definitely.
Well, thank you for coming. Can you hear me okay? So I want to thank you for coming to Pennington today, and I want to thank the organizers for allowing me to give a kind of a brief update of Pennington. First of all, let me ask you, how many of you have actually visited Pennington before? Okay. Now the second question, how many of you actually know what we do here? Good. All right. Because we have a issue that we think people around the world know more about what we do at Pennington than actually individuals here in Baton Rouge. But Pennington, as you know, is a campus of LSU, a primarily research campus. We've just celebrated our 25th year. For many of those years, we've focused on obesity, diabetes. We're actually expanding that, and our campus is absolutely beautiful. 234 acres. You're sitting now in the foundation building, but we've had a rapid growth since 2008. In addition to the original buildings, we have a state-of-the-art basic research laboratory, clinical research building for human experimentation. Just last year, moved online our imaging center for biomedical imaging, X-ray, etc. That's going to enhance our research. And now we have a complete pediatric unit, and I'll explain that in just a moment. When people ask what we do at Pennington, we say, well, our goal is to eliminate chronic diseases around the world. And when you say, well, what is a chronic disease? Well, chronic disease like obesity, diabetes, hypertension, that's essentially what we're studying. Now I'm going to show you these are pretty unique to Louisiana and what this means as far as disease development. And let me start with this particular map. First of all, as you can see, this is a map of the United States. This is not the red and blue states, so don't get upset. Okay? What this indicates is the darker colored red are those parishes or counties at the highest rate of obesity. Now what you notice is Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, there's what is called an obesity belt, correct? Higher than any other geographic region in the country. Now this is obesity. Now if we then look at obesity as expanding and causing other problems, we can now argue that once you become obese, that you will develop blood pressure, cholesterol problems, other problems leading to type 2 diabetes and heart disease. So obesity is at the center. So if you see a region that is high risk and high rate of obesity, you will see high rates of type 2 diabetes, and that's exactly what we see. Because now as we look at that same geographic region, what we see is where you see high obesity, you see high rates of type 2 diabetes, the condition that causes half of the atraumatic blindness in this country, over half the cases of kidney disease, leading cause of amputations, and 7 out of 10 people with diabetes die of heart disease. So we have a unique problem in Louisiana because we seem to lead the nation in many of these categories. And what it's costing our society for $1.37 billion for obesity, but the other chronic diseases related, $4.5 billion. Think what we can do with that type money if we didn't have to expend it on those particular problems. So Pennington is aligned quite well with the problems of the state because that's what we've been doing for 25 years. Obesity, type 2 diabetes management, healthy aging. So I'm going to take you through and show you why this is a problem and why it remains a problem and a focus of Pennington. Once again, this is data from 1994. When you look at the darker blue states, those are the states with the highest rate of diabetes. Naturally, it's Louisiana and Mississippi, correct? Dr. Brantley and I kid all the time. We go, well, if it wasn't for Mississippi, Louisiana would be at the bottom, correct? So we hope that it's the same in football this year, just to let you know. Okay, but look what happens. This is 1994. Now watch the states become bluer, which means increased prevalence of diabetes. So this is 1994, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. Again, the lighter the blue, the less the percentage of the population. This is 1999. Now look what happens. 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. I need to stop because everything's blue now, right? I need to get another color. But it means that Louisiana has a unique problem. Now, let me take it one step further. As bad as this problem is across the nation, going from 6 to, in many cases, a 50% increase across the nation, look what happens in the surrounding Baton Rouge area. Many of our parishes are 50% above the national average. So not only as Louisiana has a problem, Southeast Louisiana has an incredible problem, because as bad as the problem is nationally, we're 50% above a terrible situation. Now, with that background, our concern is now what's happening. This is a condition of middle-aged individuals. Now we're finding out it occurs in teenagers with the obesity. Now, if it occurs in teenagers, they're developing problems that normally would develop 20 years later. So we have a real problem, and many people have said we have a generation now that may not have the younger generation now that may not have the quality of life that you and I have experienced. So at Pennington, what do we have? We have programs that begin from conception, from pregnancy nutrition to the first couple of years of life. We have pediatric programs. We rolled out our pediatric program last year. We have academic grants that unite the institutions throughout the state, with Shreveport and LSU in New Orleans and Tulane and Xavier and A&M. And we have grants that try to create research programs to address these major problems. So we actually have some very innovative programs in the state. Dr. Peter Kaczmarzyk has a program throughout the state of Louisiana looking at quality of care among our state's hospitals. And Dr. Brantley has one of the largest treatment programs for surgery for obesity, showing that surgery over time is going to improve these medical outcomes. So we have a lot going on here at Pennington, and I want to show you this last slide. This represents the state, and every parish in the state we have had an effect. We have either had people being recruited from those parishes, have studies going on now. In North Louisiana, we actually have a community project going on with the LSU Ag Center to look at health surveys and wellness in West Carroll Parish. So our reach, Pennington is just not a reach here on Perkins, it's a reach throughout the state. So I want to take just a few moments and tell you why we're passionate about this. And I'm going to talk about diabetes and obesity. When you look at type 2 diabetes, you don't wake up one morning and go, oh my God, I have diabetes. You go through many years of going through this pre-diabetic phase, which is associated with obesity. And once you develop obesity, there's no question the blood sugar stays normal when you're pre-diabetic. And then there reaches a point to where, again, anything over 100 is pre-diabetes. You'll be tested today. Anything over 126 is type 2 diabetes. But there's a pre-diabetic phase where your body goes through this. It's not efficient. It's not efficient because of obesity. And you actually produce more insulin to kind of compensate, but eventually that fails and you develop type 2 diabetes. But we refer to this early phase of pre-diabetes as pre-diabetes or cardiometabolic syndrome. Now, the good news is we can prevent it. This phase may be 3, 5, 7, 10 years in an individual. We can prevent it. How come we know we can prevent it? Because we did one of the studies here, and individuals such as you volunteered to be in these studies. We can't do these studies unless we have participants. So this is a study, the Diabetes Prevention Program, where Pennington was one of the sites. I'm not going to show you a lot of data. The important thing to remember is this, that compared to doing nothing, lifestyle, getting active, losing weight, had a 57% reduction benefit in prevention, and even compared to medication, a 31% reduction. So we know we can prevent the disease. We've done the studies here, and you participated. Well, where are we now? Well, just to let you know, you will hear about a number of studies, and I'm going to show you a number of studies you can do for prevention, and you will be getting blood pressure checks, you'll be getting glucose checks, you'll be getting weight measurements, and all those will give you your risk of prediabetes. Dr. Robert Newton is This is a study for African American men who are pre-diabetic, whether exercise can be beneficial. So I know that Dr. Newton will be talking about his particular study. There'll be information if you're an African American male who has a family history of diabetes, who may be at that particular stage. This may be the study for you. We have a study showing that vitamins, vitamin D, may be beneficial. And this is a study, again, if you were measured as being pre-diabetic, the D2D study is a study looking at vitamin replacement and diabetes prevention. We have a study called the START study, taking, again, pre-diabetics and altering some of the nutritional factors to determine if we can improve those factors related to development of pre-diabetes. And finally, if you have diabetes. This is not a control study or placebo. We are doing the largest type 2 diabetic study ever funded by our government. And this compares medications that you can purchase, but we're comparing and measuring the effectiveness of each medication in a real-world setting. This is called the GRADE study. So if you have diabetes and qualify, you may qualify for the GRADE study. Finally, the other thing we're doing here at Pennington is trying to walk the walk. We now have a signature event called Doc's Dash in honor of Doc Pennington. It's coming up September 27th. It's a fun run. We'll have data on what we do for recruiting. There'll be activities for the kids, and it should be fun. I tell people it's on an LSU game day. It's Western Carolina. It's New Mexico State, right, Phil? So is it really qualified for a game day? We're not sure. Okay. But you'll be out of here by noon so you can go to the stadium if you so desire. So anyway, all this information is on our website, Facebook, social media. Our recruiting number is 763-3000. As you go today, just think about this. We can't have the findings. We can't make the determinations here at Pennington unless we have your participation. And that's the one thing I will ask you to strongly consider. If you're pre-diabetic or diabetic or overweight, please consider volunteering, because that's the only way we get the information. Dr. Chastain, Dr. Brantley, thank you again for allowing me to do this.